Used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the Used Car Superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer. Locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Since we've been advertising with the Virginia Talk Radio Network, we've grown at Executive Maintenance, and we need more help. Are you a hard worker looking to earn some extra money? Executive Maintenance would love to speak with you. We're adding honest, trustworthy people who have their own transportation and a good attitude. We'll check your references, so make sure you're ready to bring the right attitude to Executive Maintenance. If you bring that, then we'll bring you up to par with the skills needed to excel. Call us today and learn more at executivemaintenancelynchburg.com.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app. 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
I mean, you got to admire the bravado of the University of North Carolina, the confidence of the folks wearing the baby blue, or the sky blue, or the Carolina blue, or the heavenly blue, depending on your preference. Because the leakage that came out last week, it's not like leakage from like a 2-year-old's diaper, if you want to use that analogy. But it is the type of leakage where you go, something seems a little bit fishy about this. Because, Ty, you were the one that kind of turned me on to this news topic about North Carolina potentially joining the SEC.
Yes, it came out. Was it Monday or Tuesday? But it says like a 20-hour span. So it was like between that Monday or Tuesday. I think when the commissioner was talking.
Monday night was, I think, the first time when I went back and looked at the archives of the information that you shared with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when I first saw that, I'm like, this is interesting. North Carolina, SEC, the established connections are out there. And then I looked at it, and it was 2030. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a second. Isn't that when the grant of rights to get out of the ACC kind of vanishes, and you can take your media rights with you? And isn't that the same time frame where the buyout to get out of the ACC goes down from where it is right now, which is $150 million, and precipitously falls till it plateaus at $75 million to get out of the ACC in 2030 through 2036. And that number, it's still a lot of money, but it's not nearly as much as the initial figure back in the day when it was $450 million from the ACC, and we're going to hold you to the grant of rights even if you don't want to be in the conference. So here's the thing. Didn't we have this Magnificent Seven like a year or two ago where it was Carolina, FSU, Clemson, Miami, Tech, UVA, and NC State, among others? Mm-hmm. They were looking at getting out of the ACC at that particular time and challenging the grant of rights.
Yeah.
Couple things to remember about that. First of all, do you think Clemson and Florida State were the only ones that were looking to get out of the grant of rights? Or do you think they were the ones that pursued legal action, and others, as The Athletic even reported about the University of North Carolina, where the Chuck Duckett, whose daughter went to school with me at Rhodes College of Memphis, by the way, but Chuck Duckett of the UNC Board of Trustees said, hey, why not just let Clemson and Florida State basically do the dirty work for us on getting out of the conference? Do you think the other schools just sat by passively and didn't try to figure out what was going on?
Yeah, it's no way, especially like when that article came out, that had everybody like, hold on, what's going on now? Like UNC told about join the SEC. And I was like, for one, how's that going to work out? Because I remember, was it like not that long ago when Texas and Oklahoma came in, they announced like, we're not letting no more teams in the SEC. That's why I was like, okay, so are they letting them in, or they made a deal? UNC, you come in, but you got to bring your basketball program.
I don't dispute that. Carolina basketball is part of what makes that brand such a strong brand, is the history of Carolina basketball. And the fact that unlike Duke, they're a public school, they have a larger alumni base, a larger student body base, which means more eyeballs that they can bring in terms of people that can consume the product. So that's one of the most important things to remember for UNC about what they bring to the SEC. But we were at the ACC kickoff. I mean, you were doing a lot of different work for Legacy Maker Sports. Yeah. You had a lot of good chats at Ty Tracy 90 on Instagram and Twitter, and a lot of good reporting for Legacy Maker Sports. And you helped us out, too, at the Fast Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. So Thank you for that, Ty. You did a great job. We greatly appreciate it. You're lovely. I can't wait to meet her, but from what I know, lovely Kaya, yes. Even applauding us and now engaging on social media. So, hey, she's engaging with us. We have to now all of a sudden bring her into the fold. Much like Storm with Trey, Brenda with TJ, and my better half Mead as well. When you start bringing yourself into what we're doing with work here, we'd like to think we're friendly about this, but we will bring your name up. So awesome for you. And it's exciting that Kaya is now engaging with what we're doing at the Virginia Talk Radio Network.
Yes.
But to the point of where we are with all of this with North Carolina, do you think that other schools aren't doing their due diligence in consulting legal experts? We just addressed that. And here's the thing. It's not like this is Carolina's going to get out in the next couple of years. And that, to me, would be earth-shattering. That's the one where you go, oh, snap. We're about to have some changes real quickly here. Well, 2030, it doesn't just align when the grant of rights goes back to schools. It doesn't just align with the fact that if you're North Carolina and your TV money can be held by you and the buyout to get out of the ACC flatlines for 6-7 years at $75 million. A lot, but navigable. It also is around the timeline when the Big 12's deal with Fox and ESPN runs out, when the Big 10's deal with Fox and the SEC's deal with ESPN and ABC, they run out. What do you know? They all kind of run out around the same time frame. What do you also know that, oh, by the way, it's another timeline. The college football playoff format right now just goes through 2026. You can always extend the format for a couple of years and then kind of wait around and see what ends up transpiring. Do you think that these conferences and schools haven't been doing their due diligence with major network TV partners to see who would be desirable within an organization, especially when Sports Business Journal reported this a year or so ago, at least a year ago, that the NFL, even former NFL officials, have been consulting with people in college sports on how a super league might look, how it might operate, and what might be the best brands. You don't see the flames, but you see the smoke everywhere. It's kind of like, what was it, this past October or the October before, where there were the fires in Bedford County, and we're at Liberty University at whatever football game they were playing during that time frame. I want to say it was in October, it may have been in November.
I think it was. No, it was close to the playoffs.
Yeah, whatever it was. You know what I'm talking about. We're sitting there in the press box, and we're thankfully not asphyxiating, but we open the window for fresh air, and we kind of got some smoky air there. We know there's a fire somewhere. We may not see the flames, but we know there's a fire. Well, that's kind of what this is right now when it comes to the ACC. So we're at the ACC kickoff. You're doing your stuff for Legacy Maker Sports, and we're chatting with great guests. 2 of whom were on the fast lane last week. But we asked, what's more likely? The ACC goes into a split of haves and have-nots. ACC schools bail for the SEC, or that they go to a Super League. And our unscientific poll, the 2 guests we shared with you, we'll have a couple more that will come soon, podcast exclusives at Fastlane, Headlane, wherever you listen to podcasts. What was unscientifically 3 to 4 people, but still very credible, all along this similar lines, that this is not ending in North Carolina going to the SEC. It is much more likely to end with North Carolina and others joining an ACC Super League, as Dave Glenn, with his legal background and ties to the ACC Commissioner's Office for decades, shared with us.
Maybe the most likely scenario is that there's a college football Super League where only some ACC schools get invited to it, but that we evolve into this world where all your other sports on campus just remain a part of the ACC. You continue all your rivalries in men's basketball. You continue all your existing rivalries in all the other Olympic sports, as they're called. But in football, if you're a big enough brand, you could be invited to the Super League, however many teams it might be. And, of course, the TV executives would love to market a college football Super League the way the NFL markets its 30-plus teams.
That's interesting. Amazing. Background legal. And we've kind of gone down that road before, that this will inevitably be one grand reshuffling of college athletics, because this is what you're going to get. Ryan McGee's the other one with whom we spoke. It was a couple days after the North Carolina news had come out. Yeah. And we dropped that interview with you Friday, Fastlane, Headlane, wherever you listen to podcasts, including for those who are visually inclined, although we didn't have the visuals. But if you like it at YouTube Live or Facebook Live, YouTube or Facebook Live, you can check it out there. But Ryan McGee had this to say from 20 years ago.
Smartest, you're talking commissioners, the smartest collegiate administrator I've ever known in my life was Roy Kramer. And he told me almost 20 years ago that the Super League is coming and you can't stop it. And he said it might happen 10 years from now. It might happen 40 years from now. That's coming. He goes, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And it's because
adjust your screen
the only
smidge
two
for the
giant
get your head.
pots of money that are out there is the football money, which everybody fights over all the time, but that basketball money is just sitting there. And the Super League wouldn't just be a football Super League. It would also be the league that controls the basketball tournament, because that's the last bunch of NCAA money that that schools can get to. And so the Super League's coming, and it'll be NFC, AFC, call it whatever you want to call it. But it's just one of those. I think it's inevitable.
It is inevitable. Like, this is where it's going in college athletics. I don't quite know if a Liberty will get to a Super League. They might not. They're willing to play the game financially. But the bigger point that I look at is, I think there are a number of schools that would be in that category. I do think the Virginia schools do carry some cachet and brand, not to the North Carolina level, but Virginia's got a strong population. It does open up the access ways to the D.C. area, and North Carolina, the Virginia schools have a strong presence in that area. So there's enough of a passionate fan base that there's value in those type of programs. But the reality is this is where it's going. And because of that, there's schools, not just in the ACC, but even in other conferences that will be left behind.
I don't think it will just be an ACC problem. It'll be a Big Ten problem. It'll be a brand new Pac-12 problem. It'll be an SEC problem. Mississippi State is going to get left behind, right? I mean, you can sit here and list the schools.
Yeah, Vanderbilt, Northwestern.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Those schools, there will be others that are left behind. Like, it's not hard to figure out at the ACC. Look, Wake Forest is part of the North Carolina school, so it's hard to get a gauge on them. But, I mean, you've been to this thing before, as have I, Ty. Is there a real presence for Boston College at the ACC kickoff from Boston media?
I mean, it's more than Boston College. You got to think about, like, Stanford, Cal. It's all of those schools. So it's like, now it's like you think about it. He's like, okay, who's going to get selected to the Super League? And you just like, okay, we already know who the teams will be selected. But it's like, who's the other teams that's going to be selected behind them? And you gonna let them in. So that's like it's gonna be chaotic.
It is. I mean, look, ironically, a lot of the schools the ACC has brought in from their ways of realignment when they went from 9, where it was Florida State and the other 8 dwarves, as they called it in football, to 12, Boston College, Tech, Miami, Syracuse, Pitt. Obviously, the latest iteration, Maryland left, but the latest iteration with SMU, Stanford, and Cal. I mean, Louisville's got a passionate fan base. I can understand that. SMU, the whole quote I'll continue to revert to is, when they join the ACC and forego a lot of those media rights deal dollars, the comment of when you're worth a few billion, what's a couple $100 million? Like, you can play that kind of big boy ball.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, we had great chats with people like Stanford GM Andrew Luck, Cal's Ron Rivera, and others at the ACC kickoff. They're up Fastly and wherever you listen to podcasts. And I know it sounds braggadocious, and it kind of is, but they were informative. But part of that is a lot of those schools talked about the end component of academics and athletics, about the overall experience. Not that that's bad, but particularly with big boy football. Maybe not even other big boy sports like basketball, certainly baseball and your Olympic sports, but larger boy football, it's more about just the raw economic numbers of what makes sense. And that, to me, is why you're going to get to this point. So North Carolina, I mean, look, more power. If you want to play that game, play that game. They've got the pieces in place. All the circus around Bill Belichick at the ACC kickoff. He in North Carolina, they've got an elevated profile, at least while he's there. But because of that, there are schools that generate interest, and there are schools that don't. And you've gone to the ACC kickoff and basketball tip-off long enough, as have I. It's not hard to figure out that there's kind of a clear delineation of schools that generate a lot of interest, a minimal amount of interest, and then hardly any at all.
My biggest question is what they're going to do with Duke then. Because I feel like North Carolina and Duke, they need each other. Because they bring the brand out, especially for basketball. That's what's like. What's my biggest question? What are you gonna do with Duke? That's my biggest question.
So I think it's a very reasonable question, and I go back to the one that was brought up by a number of guests. Dave Glenn, our full chat with him, and Ryan McGee, Fastlane, Ed Lane, where you listen to podcasts. And again, we'll have others dropping like Sports Business Journal's Ben Portnoy and other guests from the ACC kickoff over the next handful of days at Fastlane, Ed Lane, wherever you listen to podcasts. But the fascinating part is that there's a clause in there that allows schools in the ACC to pay that $75 billion. I mean, shoot, even we could help with that. But $75 million deal to get out of the ACC in football, but stash their other sports in the ACC, kind of like a Notre Dame setup where they'd all go to a Super League in football. So to me, if that's the case, you'll kind of keep the ACC intact for the other sports, It's just the bigger brands will branch off in football and do their own thing, meaning Duke Carolina in football may not exist, but Duke Carolina in basketball certainly will.
That's how I feel like that's going to be. I mean, it's going to be a lot. That's just too much going on. And like for him calling it 20 years later, 20 years far back, that's a great prediction he probably had.
It is.
That's a great prediction.
Look, I tend to think that prediction from Ryan McGee about Roy Kramer calling the Super League, I mean, that is aged like a fine wine really well. And, I think it was maybe he or Jim Delaney in the Big Ten who said pretty soon there are going to be two conferences called Fox and ESPN. I mean, it's kind of what it is right now in college sports. You can throw Notre Dame in there with NBC, and CBS is still maintaining a presence there. But, it's TV networks that are running the show. This is where it is gone and where it will go. The sports fan loses in a certain sense. I think the biggest loss actually is more the now and the uncertainty, as opposed to when things you would hope and pray settle down in some form. Even if you're not in the regular grouping, you can know where your allegiances lie as a fan and where your interest level lies and how to properly frame and view your interest in a particular sport. Speaking of properly framing things, there were other things that popped up at the ACC kickoff, news and nuggets that we need to recap from our time there in the Fast Five at 5-ish.
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
So Memphis offered $200 to $250 million, reportedly, for a chance to join the Big 12, which that conference rejected. What does it say to ACC schools and other schools? I think to me it says we're starting to get more of a line of demarcation as far as schools that would be considered for a potential Super League and schools that fall under the haves or have-nots category, even if you have the financial resources. Now, if I'm a school like Memphis or an SMU and you're left out of the Super League, I think it's disappointing. If you're a school like Liberty and all of a sudden you get grouped into the second realm of college athletics, maybe outside the Super League, but you're in the same category as a Memphis, as an SMU, as other schools. That's an upgrade for Liberty. I mean, they continue to work their way up. A lot of this is the whole beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Some schools might be disappointed, but others might be in a much more favorable spot, especially when it comes to how their football scheduling and rivalries may transpire going forward.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing my biggest concern is about Liberty's scheduling, they have been pretty weak, but I feel like some of the schools, like you say, behind the Super League might be overlooked. Okay, we might have to bring them into the Super League the way they've been playing.
Another story that popped up as it relates to the ACC comes in. A docuseries featuring North Carolina Tar Heels and head coach Bill Belichick is slated to be released on Hulu, which is part of ESPN, according to Front Office Sports, not the part of ESPN. We know that, but that it would be released on Hulu. I will look, if Jordan Hudson vetoed the HBO concept and said, hey, we'd rather this be on an ACC affiliated platform, kudos to her. And if it's not, whoever got involved and may have shifted that, kudos to them, because North Carolina strengthening their brand with a rights holder, it is a smart fiduciary move. Now, I think you can wonder whether or not the access would be the same. Not that it would ever be the biggest, most accessible program with Michael Lombardi and Bill Belichick there as buttoned up as it gets in terms of access to their program. But I think it's reasonable to say, hey, would this be the same level of access that we normally get? I think it's a very fair question to bring up. But the series with Bill Belichick that would debut on Hulu does not yet have a name, but we know that Jordan Hudson and her enterprises have helped to trademark Chapel Bill, No Days Off, and Do Your Job, slogans all familiar and similar to the Bill Belichick model. Look, in the end, an ESPN ABC affiliated property, Hulu, Disney, however it is, partnering with North Carolina does make more sense than HBO, even if Hard Knocks on HBO or the All or Nothing on Amazon Prime might give us, the fans, more insight, which is kind of what we would want.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I was like, I mean, it's just different, but I'm still surprised that HBO didn't try to attack it quickly or anything.
No, I think that's absolutely the case. That's one of the things that brought up. Meanwhile, other nuggets from the ACC kickoff include injury report, more transparency. You will not have to list where the injury is, but you will have to list probable, questionable, out, or a full go. I would want this one thing. If you're not going to list where the part of the body for the injury is, Selfishly, I would like to know, like the NFL, it'll list DNP did not practice for like a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday injury report for a typical Sunday NFL game.
Yeah.
When you get that type of designation, did not practice, next to questionable, or limited participant, or full go at practice, that to me is what I would need to know in terms of providing a level of clarity just as a fan for how an injury might impact the game. I get that there's betting knowledge and info. People will always be angling for those type of news and nuggets. But I think this is a step in the right direction, but I think you can do a little bit more to strengthen the idea and the veracity of injury reports.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was hoping they'd do something like that. I'm not surprised, but it's about time they do something like that, make a change and everything. Because they know it's getting out of hand, but they know they got to do something like that.
Number 2.
Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, echoed what Big 12 Commissioner Greg Dormark had said in joining the SEC's Greg Sankey and preferring the 5 automatic qualifiers, ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, in the highest ranking group of 5 school, plus currently 7, maybe 9, probably 11 at some point, at-large berths to the college playoff. Notre Dame will get one of those 7, 9, or 11, assuming they have a good year, which most years they will. They're a really strong program now with Marcus Freeman. But everybody else wants one format. The Big 10 wants another. And they talked about, we need more conference games, and we really want to reduce it. I mean, if you see what Indiana's doing right now, where they canceled their series with UVA and they picked up Kennesaw State, I think we're uniquely qualified because we've seen Kennesaw State play Liberty offense high, and we've seen UVA because we cover both those programs with Conference USA and the ACC. Virginia has been down on their luck lately, but they're not Kennesaw State bad. I know they upset Liberty last year, but just ride with us on this. If you're subbing out Virginia for Kennesaw State, that tells me a lot about Indiana's scheduling philosophy, but a lot of other Big Ten programs. For me, the college football fan loses because of the way the Big Ten is holding out and getting in the way of what would be a much better format.
Yeah, and I just feel like, I just don't understand, but why Indiana would. But either way, I think Indiana should make the other route to schedule a stronger team instead of Kennesaw State. Nothing against Kennesaw UVA. I'm just saying.
Yeah, look, from a fan's perspective, sure, I get what Indiana's doing. They're trying to game the scheduling system, but it's not my cup of tea.
Number 1.
The ACC communications staff, which I'll give them a lot of credit. North Carolina and Miami were the 2 communication staffs, which were just hardly responsive at all at the ACC kickoff. You hardly got anything out of them. I get Carolina, you got the Belichick circus, but you can just say we can't accommodate you as opposed to not communicating at all. Like, it's kind of ironic when you're it's like, by the way, advertising agencies and communications companies. If you're an ad agency and you don't want to deal with us, or you're the marketing expert, quote unquote, for a particular business, and yet you tell us not to contact you, dude, your job, if you're a marketing consultant, is to engage with people in marketing. Even if the answer is consistently, hey, we're not ready to do anything, or hey, it's not in the cards right now, or connect with me in, 3, 6, 9, whatever months it might be. Keep the pipelines of communication open. If you're not doing that as a marketing director, why should you be shocked if I just circumvent you and go somewhere else? Well, it's the same thing when it comes to communication staffs. Like, I don't like circumventing people at particular universities, but if we get no traction at all, what are I going to do? You're going to continue to not help us out? Oh, that's a real challenge. Oh, I'm really threatened by that. North Carolina's Bill Belichick was part of the reason for that. Miami's, that's more of a mystery to me than even North Carolina, because I get North Carolina's not being communicated. They're trying to navigate Bill Belichick and never really dealt with this type of attention before. But the ACC staff received more credential applications this year than ever before. And Belichick is most certainly the reason for that. Combine that with the fact that the Monday before the ACC kickoff, the Heels announced a sell-out for season and single game tickets. The first time that's ever happened, despite the fact they raised ticket prices 25%. Oh, by the way, probably someone at Carolina, but leaking the rumors of going to the SEC in 2030, even though all of our experts say it's not going to be the SEC, it'll be a super league along with other schools. Love him or hate him, the attention of Bill Belichick to North Carolina has been a benefit and will be a benefit to Carolina and the ACC, at least in terms of maybe not wins or losses, but certainly attention.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That should have been automatically everybody. Well, Coach Belichick should know that he's going to grab a lot of attention in North Carolina, and he's going to get everybody going to try their best to get everything as possible, piece by piece, to get what's the insight, what's North Carolina, what's going on, and everything. So he should know that about him.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, again, is just having the right communications people, paging Parks PR from our friend Karita Parks of Parks PR. But having people who just educate you and tell you, here's what's going on. Oh, by the way, Belichick, the media at the ACC and in North Carolina are not nearly as hostile as what you dealt with in New England. They're not really looking for gotcha questions. They just want some kind of communication. And even if you fill it with kind of BS platitudes, most of us will still be okay with that versus asking the same question 25 different ways, thinking you'll get an answer, and opposed, even if you end up just giving us the dial tone or saying at the end of the day. I mean, look, some of this is on the people to season them. The ACC, I don't blame them for anything. I think they're just kind of getting their young Jeezy on. But I think everyone else could have maybe done a little bit better job. Meanwhile, when we return to the fast lane, speaking of communication, give the Seminole District a lot of credit. They're communicating with the media for the second straight football season. To give us an overview of the history of this is a friend of ours who's got a lot on his plate, Ben Cates of NewsAdvance.com. When we return, this is the Fast Lane, VTR and Sports app, and as that smart speaker, open VTR and Sports.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area, plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Dealer will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer, locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
The feel of the beach is perfect, relaxing with family and friends, bonding over memorable meals fresh from the seas. It's a beach experience, and it's in our backyard at 801.
You got like a minute to go. If you have not heard from Ben, or if he hasn't logged in,
relaxing beach house vibe.
Go ahead and
fresh seafood from our region, including raw oysters, king crabs, and snow crab. Not really a seafood person? Try their fresh handcrafted burgers, subs, pizza, and salads. Step into the relaxing beach house vibe at 801 Raw Bar on Church Street in downtown Lynchburg.
Are your windows difficult to open and close? Are you air conditioning the outdoors with gaps around your old, worn-out windows? It's time to call Collins Siding and Windows. Let their experienced craftsmen transform your home's appearance with beautiful new windows while also saving you money on energy costs. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Window has been transforming homes in the Lynchburg area. Call Collins Siding and Window today for all of your exterior home projects. Call today, 434-525-6307.
Few things are more majestic in nature as long as it's outside your house. Unfortunately, when wildlife gets inside your chimney, it leads to problems for your chimney and your house. Prevent this problem with Black Goose Chimney Service. They provide one-time solutions to ensure the wildlife stays outside your home. And if you had wildlife inside your house, Black Goose Chimney Service can deal with the aftermath and make sure they don't return. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit them at blackgoose.net.
Warm weather means traveling. Hi, I'm Randy Trost from Trost Law with a couple of safety reminders. Always wear your seatbelt. Don't drive distracted or impaired. And remember, it's better to safely arrive a little later than being in an auto accident. Those things can make a big difference between a fun family trip or a painful alternative. At Trost Law, I hope you never need our services. But if you do, we're here to help you at 777-HURT or trostlaw.com.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real technology so they can work smarter every day. From repairs, to training, to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice,
get ready, baby.
We're not just builders.
Here we go. Summer's over, by the way. You realize that,
just
right?
Like you.
Football
And every
season's
day and every
here.
team reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us. Build with experience.
You worked with TJ on stuff before?
Build with Right Choice.
The thrill of Liberty Flames football returns this fall.
Give it to us. There it is.
Already, I'm actually he's changing 4 weeks from tomorrow.
For the Conference
4 weeks
USA
from Friday.
Championship. All 6 home games, including
High
a
school
battle
football.
with in-state rival JMU on September 20th. Cross-conference games against New Mexico State, Delaware, Missouri State, and Kennesaw State. Season opener
You got the right
August
attitude.
3rd against Maine.
I mean,
Season tickets at
I don't know. I mean, you gotta have talent to do some of this stuff. And
Mark
know
Dalton
what
here
you're
with
doing
Terry
around it.
Volkswagen. Get
That's
ready to
part
fall
of it.
head
But you also
over
have to have
heels for the
attitude. I don't
perfect
have-
VW
I don't know.
SUV.
Other people
One
deal
size
with it.
doesn't fit
I've
all,
got
though,
to
and
know
that's why
AO models.
Volkswagen has an SUV for everyone. From the compact and affordable Volkswagen Taos to the tech pack Tiguan and the spacious Volkswagen Atlas. No matter which one fits your
Just like that
lifestyle,
time he
you'll
saw me
love
coming in
comfort,
late, giving you a
performance, and
lecture.
safety.
Get
Stop by
ready,
Terry
it's gonna be a
Volkswagen
lot
on Forest
worse.
Road in Lynchburg,
Oh my
or check us
God,
out online
really?
at terrybw.com. Terry Volkswagen. You'll love our cars.
Head to lynchburg-gocats.com.
It just comes out to the boogeyman. Here we go.
This season. Now here's VTR in Sport.
Step into the fast lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the fast lane.
There are a number of reasons why one of these openings in the Seminole District football is not like the other opening in the Seminole District football. To discuss that and more, Ben Cates, newsadvance.com, joins us right now in the fast lane. Ben, first of all, long time no speak. We really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for making a moment for us. How have things been on your end and your busyness between wrapping up the spring and looking ahead to the fall?
Oh, everything's going great. Thanks for having me, Ed. Yeah, we've got
I'm
football
echoing something.
right around the corner.
It's Ben's headphones. It's Ben's headphones.
Ah, that's what it is. We're trying to work through some technical issues here. Is it on that end, Ty, on the computer?
It's Ben's headphones.
It's Ben's headphones that are echoing?
We had an issue like that earlier. That's why.
Okay, gotcha. So anyway, Ben, how have things gone from you since we've spoken a little over a month ago?
We're good. Good, Ed. Things have been busy, and we're gearing up for what's going to be a promising football season here in a little bit. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to getting back to fall sports.
You and me both. We're excited for it. Ben Cates, newsadvance.com, is with us here in the fast lane. Looking back, by the way, I love the concept that you guys have put together at newsadvance.com, the 3-part series that you guys have had with high school sports, taking a look back at everything, the what we've worked for, parts 1 through 3 from spring sports. How much of that was born out of your knowledge that there's so many sports, it's hard to encapsulate it all? How much of it is the fact that, we know the headline sports in the fall, football, and the winter, boys and girls basketball, but in the spring, there are a lot of sports that kind of do an equal job of grabbing the attention.
Yeah, there's so much going on in the spring, obviously. There's so many different sports, and things move really, really quickly, especially once the playoffs start. And so that series, I thought I could do that every summer because the spring sports are there's always so many storylines that come out of those sports. And so that's something that we could do every year. It's the first time that I've done it. It's a long series. It's super lengthy. I think it's about 10,000 words. And, but it wraps a lot of different storylines together based off of previous reporting that we had done, puts it in more of a narrative type of style. And, it's something that I think kids and parents, fans can look back at and say, hey, a little bit more in depth on, or a little bit of a reminder of what was accomplished this spring. Because every spring is while it's really challenging, offers just a lot of things, a lot of things happening, a lot of state title runs and that sort of thing. This one I thought was particularly interesting as well because there were just so many milestones and state title runs going on. So just something I wanted to put together for our readers to say, hey, this was in our little area of Central Virginia, Lynchburg area. It was quite a spring.
Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook Live, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, hear anything you might have missed from our chat so far with Ben Cates of newsadvance.com, and he's at Ben Cates8 on Twitter to keep up with his work there as well. Ben, the spring sports seasons, look, first of all, I mean, we know what the fall is, we know what the winter are with the highlight sports, but how much joy and satisfaction do you personally get when you get to do these series like you've done on spring sports, going back, looking at what we've worked for, which are those sports seasons, but really telling some of the stories of the athletes who clearly put in a high level of work, but maybe don't get the same level of attention that the biggest sports do?
Yeah, it's really interesting and fun because every single day you can come, just about every single day you can come home from work and you can think about things you overheard at games. And, we're living in an age where there are really no amateur athletes anymore, except for in high school. And so, it's just really interesting to see things develop at that level and to hear how kids interact with each other and to see how they interact with reporters when someone's not used to being interviewed. They say some really good things a lot of times, and sometimes it's a lot of things that you might not get out of somebody who's in college and just will give you the textbook answer. And so those are like little examples of things that you really like when you think about this kind of series, putting this kind of series together. You think back on just the everyday grind of the beat, and how interesting it is and how fun it can be.
Ben Cates8, Twitter and newsadvance.com. Ben, one of these openings in the Seminole District for this football season, not like the other as we transition from our chat looking back at the spring to Seminole District Football Media Days, which will be on Tuesday. Darryl Robertson, who was the first black head coach in Seminole District football history, which was an awesome honor for him. That's the most challenging job in the Seminole District. And, he resigned from his post. How challenging is it, though, for Liberty High School in particular, that this is now the second time they've lost a coach, not just in the last couple of years, but have done so close to the start of the season?
Always tough. It was a scramble to get someone when Chris Watts left a few years ago. And, now with an interim in Brad Womack, I think that's a good kind of decision there from Liberty. But it is always a challenge to say you've got 1 month, basically. When something like this happens in July, you've got maybe a month, maybe a little over a month, something like that to really do what you want to get done and install what you want, and or just keep things the same. I mean, there are decisions that have to be made among coaches there. But yeah, it is so unlike anything I think any other level of sports where you kind of hit the ground running and you got to make some decisions, and you hope that the decisions that you make with a limited number of people, just a handful of people are the right ones. And so, Liberty opens up with William Campbell. I think that will be an extremely interesting game. And Liberty comes in with I believe it's a 37-game losing streak. It's one of the longest in the Virginia High School League currently. And so that'll be an interesting game there when you're talking about a Class 1 team and a Class 2 team in Liberty. Interesting matchup there that is, like you said, it's kind of unlike any that are out there the first week.
There are a lot of dynamics on that front that we can get into as the season progresses, because that will be one of the stories during the season and afterwards, but is one of the big things as well. I mean, Liberty fans are desperate for a winner. You've highlighted their 34-game losing streak, and it dates back a couple of years now. But judging Brad Womack, is there really any way to judge him at all in his first season? Or given the short timeline, it's more about, hey, do you keep the kids fighting and engaged, and then you try to hit the reset button in the end of the season when you have a full off season to really try to build something?
I think you really got to try, and because in an interim role, there's a chance you may be auditioning for that job, and if you want it in the future, and so that's something that I'm sure he will find out coming up in the season, during the season. But yeah, I think it's is the kind of thing where you got to hit the ground running, and you've got to I think first priority has to be to get those kids ready, make sure they're in shape for the season, make sure they're healthy and ready to play football, and then priority number 2 is to go out and win. I think once you get that first one out of the way, in this kind of situation, a lot of pressure is relieved, and you can go about business. It's always going to be tough for Liberty in the Seminole District going forward, as long as numbers are the way they are, as being the only Class 2 team in the Seminole District. A lot of people wanted to see Liberty go into the Dogwood District. That hasn't happened, but it's life in the Seminole is going to be tough until either the numbers come up or you start seeing a lot of really talented athletes showing up for practice every day.
Ben, last one for you, and we'll pivot away with former Liberty head coach Chris Watts, who will be part of the Rustburg staff. They've got a 24-year-old in Trey Ross, but how much of an advantage does he have, given that there's Mike Sharnis who's been involved in things there. We've also had Mike Rivas who's been there for a while. Now there's Chris Watts. There's a lot of coaching experience, including a lot of head coaching experience, who can help Ross navigate being a head coach for the first time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Just a meeting. Practice must just be a meeting of the minds every day. And same thing at somewhere like Brookville right now, just where you just have kind of an all-star staff coming in. I can't imagine being a young head coach and having that much experience at my fingertips, and Chris Watts and Mike Sharnis especially. Those guys have always have learned from others and leaned on other guys as well throughout their careers, but extremely sharp and extremely knowledgeable. And so I'm sure that Trey Ross is going to want to lean on those guys while still, installing the things that he wants to do as a head coach as well. And Rustburg is in kind of a situation where lost a lot of talent from the year before and has to try to look to replace it, and is also implementing some new schemes, and there's a lot of newness there. And so you might have a learning curve there, but I think Rustburg wants to come in and immediately compete. Having Chris Watts, who never really got time to coach at Heritage, was there for a couple of months, was supposed to be coming in, and then took this defensive coordinator job at Rustburg. Really gives Rustburg a good mind on the defensive side of the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see how those guys gel together.
Ben, appreciate your time. We'll have a chance to get into all this and more next week at the 2nd Annual Seminole District Football Media Days at Heritage. We appreciate your time in the Fast Lane, and glad we're able to catch up and, say bye-bye to summer as well.
Thanks. I appreciate you, Ed, and Ty as well.
Ben Cates with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, we will pivot from that to the Liberty Flames with John Manson of ASeaRed.com next here in the Fast Lane, VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
The savings are huge at the big summer sales event going on now at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford. Save up to $10,400 off MSRP on a new 2025 Ram 1500, or save up to $7,700 off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Plus, we have over 230 incredible pre-owned vehicles in stock, marked with huge discounts. Don't miss our big summer sales event at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford, 1750 Independence Boulevard, MagicCityBedford.com.
Sandstone architecture, melodic music, wonders of the world. They're staples of Egyptian and Mediterranean culture. But you didn't have to travel thousands of miles to experience it. Just drive to downtown Cairo. Enjoy food from the entire Mediterranean, blended with the best Egyptian recipes. That means fresh ingredients cooked on a charcoal grill. Downtown Cairo staples include $5 heroes, and build your own Mediterranean bowl. Experience the taste of the Egyptian and Mediterranean world in your own backyard. downtown Cairo. Business 29 in Madison Heights and the Grays Mill Shopping Center in Forest.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies. Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA. Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football. Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it. Built by tradition and fueled by passion. Breaks free at the 10 to the 5. Touchdown Tech, where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com.
Pull up a seat and join our conversation. Around the Table with Vicki is my new local radio show and podcast discussing leadership, entrepreneurship, philanthropy, faith, and family.
What role would you say that innovation and adapting to change plays in your business strategy?
Oh my goodness, so much.
I think that's something we've learned through the last 5 years.
Well, I mean,
especially
honestly,
through COVID.
youth had done a lot of that. I mean, as the younger generation brings Chat GTP and all these different things that you look at that brings, if you're not open to what technology is bringing, you just sort of die.
Well, that is something that you spearheaded not only in our family, but in our company, is that you've been telling us for 10 years, Mom, you've got to be able to adapt and change or your business stays stagnant and doesn't grow. And we've kind of listened to you about that. Whatever business that you're in, you better make sure that you've got a budget to be able to make those innovative changes along the way.
Stay in the front of that. You want to stay in front of technology. You got to embrace it. Or if you don't understand it, find somebody that does, because ultimately whoever embraces the innovation first wins.
Mm-hmm. And we love to be the one that wins.
Even the senior living world, I think the things that we've tried, we've always tried to be innovative and creative and doing something that if we go on a trip, we find something cool, we try to come back and bring that here.
Around the Table with Vicki, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on WIQO.
You're seriously considering buying investment property, but you're unsure of all the steps. That's where we come in at Brownstone Properties. We're navigating different home investment journeys daily, just as we've done for decades. From buying with one of our licensed realtors to a full-service property management after the purchase, Brownstone Properties will walk with you step by step on your real estate investment journey. For a free initial consultation, call or visit us online today at brownstoneproperties.com.
Your next experience is awaiting you at InsaneRadioDeals.com. With summer heating up, these deals are only getting hotter. Check out great deals from Rise Up Climbing, 4-day passes to Floyd Fest 25 Aurora, Aquatrek Adventure Tri-Scuba classes, and much more. And of course, tickets to Lynchburg Hillcats, all at InsaneRadioDeals.com. Check out these deals before they run out. Summertime at InsaneRadioDeals.com. It's just heating up.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Bye-bye summer. That was kind of the theme anyway when you get to conference media days. Heck, really, after Independence Day in the world of sports, at least with college football and high school and the NFL all starting is when it goes bye-bye. But it's an opportunity to say hello in a longer time frame to John Manson from AseaofRed.com. We've had him on regularly Mondays in Covering the Commonwealth, but we're experimenting with something where we can chat with John on longer form because let's keep it real. We love his insight at AseaofRed.com. John, a pleasure to be speaking with you. Is this the end of summer in essence for you and, well, your lovely girls and wife who probably understand that by now, once Liberty training camp begins, which it does on Wednesday, bye-bye summer? Well, let's see if we can reconnect with John Manson from AseaofRed.com. I'm not getting anything as far as audio-wise with John to try to get that thing squared away. So we'll try to reconnect with him in just a moment. To me, it is. I mean, you're looking at where things are. We'll do it from just the traditional phone line right now as we clearly work through new things with John Manson. But no, there are things to watch for Liberty when they get ready for fall camp. One of which is just the overall outlook of the team, obviously position battles. John, a pleasure to be speaking with you. Before we delve into all of that, is this the end of summer for you?
Yeah, you got me now, Ed?
Yes, we do.
Okay, sounds good. A little technical difficulties here, but we got the video stream going too, so cool. Yeah, it's funny. I was actually
this weekend out with my wife, Morgan, and kind of mentioned, this is kind of the end of the summer, even though here we are late July as, training camp starts and you starting back to school shopping and all those sorts of things. So it definitely, the summer kind of feels like it's coming to an end, and it's kind of sad. You think back as all your fond memories you have from the summer when you're a child, and it seems like the summer gets shorter and shorter every year, and it's certainly no different in college athletics with that. We talk about it all the time about college football as a year-round endeavor, and you can say the same thing for some of the other major sports in college athletics. But yeah, it definitely feels like the summer is, if it's not already over, it'll certainly feel that way this time tomorrow after we've taken in at least one press conference from Coach Chadwell and one practice from the Liberty Flames.
So we've had a chance now to digest Conference USA Media Days for Jamie Chadwell and the Liberty Flames, John, and we're glad to be speaking with you here in the Fast Lane from AseaofRed.com. We're off our Monday spot because we're trying to be able to do a little bit longer chats with John, so that's the explanation we're sharing with you in the Fast Lane. What are you expecting differently when Jamie Chadwell addresses the media, if anything, tomorrow, mood-wise, vibes-wise, content-wise, even from what he and the players shared at Conference USA Media Days last week?
Yeah, I don't think you'll hear a lot different from, him as far as, mood, vibes. He's going to have the same message that he had last week down in Frisco, talking about, the biggest takeaway there for me, and I think most that watched that and covered that and covers Liberty and this team is, just, how they're trying to flush what happened last year, flush out, maybe some bad attitudes, some, complacency, lack of leadership maybe in the locker room. Coming off that, 2023 season where they went 13-1, made the Fiesta Bowl, and obviously won Conference USA championship. And last year, 8-4, we've talked about that, how, 8-4, by many standards is a strong and respectable season, but that certainly did not meet expectations for Liberty last year with their schedule and the expectations with those returners coming back. So I think you'll hear some of the same type of message. The content might change slightly, when you got those of us that are there in the room with him that cover this team in depth. We might get more in depth into, some of the position battles he's looking at and some of the, newcomers that he's hoping to adapt. And obviously we're going to get into that coaching or the quarterback competition as, all eyes will be on that throughout training camp until a starter is named. Which I wouldn't expect that to happen until late in training camp or even until after training camp's over and we get into game week prep for the season opener on the 30th of August against Maine.
This is where you can throw Richie Longshots under the bus. Now, before you speak with him on the A Sea of Red podcast, which it debuts for this season tonight. Is that correct, John?
Yes, sir. We'll be live tonight starting at 8:30 on, at A Sea of Red on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Be sure to find us there, and it'll also have the show will be archived on YouTube and then also on AseaofRed.com by tomorrow morning. But yeah, tonight 8:30, come join us.
Well, to get my usher on for a moment and confess, I'll be listening tomorrow because, well, it's hard to stay up late when you're trying to get 2 7-year-old boys to go to sleep, even when they wear themselves out at camp, which they have done this week. So it'll be a little bit later, but we're looking forward to that returning. We can throw Richie Longshots, though, under the bus, or you can if you would like. We would never do such a thing here in the Fast Lane, John. But I saw someone at A Sea of Red on Twitter or _Sea of Red on Instagram had Ethan Vasco as a heavy favored for the starting quarterback position for Liberty. How much of that was just based on the information that we could glean heading out of spring practice and spring workouts? And we know Liberty's schedule is different. How much of that is an indicator that Vasco may be vastly ahead of the rest of the quarterbacks heading into camp?
Yeah, I'm not sure if saying he's ahead of the other quarterbacks is probably the right way to phrase it. I think it's more, he's the only one with significant playing experience at the FBS level. He started pretty much all of last season at Coastal Carolina, and now he brings that experience over to Liberty. And his biggest competition, at least coming out of the 2024 season and going into spring practice, seemed to be Ryan Berger and maybe even Jaden Bradford. But both of those missed all of spring due to, various injuries. So It was only 3 quarterbacks getting the bulk of those reps, and it was all 3 newcomers. Vasco, Ethan Houck, the true freshman, and then Michael Merdinger, the transfer from North Carolina. Merdinger and Houck are both, freshmen or redshirt freshmen. And then, obviously, so Vasco was the much more experienced in that room in the spring. And now with the other 2 back with the team and going through workouts and practicing, as far as we know, getting prepared to Wednesday, that competition will probably ramp up some here in the coming days and weeks. But I certainly expect Vasco to be the favorite. From you're talking about from a betting perspective, putting odds on it, I would definitely think that Vasco would be the favorite. But again, as we all know, those are that follow betting lines and over unders and that sort of thing. Underdogs win all the time. So injuries happen. Other things happen that we might not be expecting here today on the first day of, or player report day and first day of camp tomorrow. So you don't know. It's a long way until August 30th. Seems like it's right around the corner, but it's a long way until we get there. So we'll have to wait and see. But yes, I do expect Vasco. If things go as we expected, I think he'll be the starter for August 30th. But we'll just have to wait and see how things progress during training camp.
A lot of time, almost a full month between now and August 30th when Liberty kicks off against Maine. John, we'll wrap it up on this one. A relatively quick answer for you. What's one other position battle you're monitoring at the outset of training camp?
It's really hard to only name one, Ed, because there's so many. There's so many new faces. Whether it's transfers that are coming in, younger guys that are coming up the ranks. If you make me pick one, I'll probably say offensive line. It's probably the most important position group. There's a couple faces, 3 names there that kind of stand out as far as Jack Tucker, Harrison Hayes, and then also Aaron Fenimore, starting center, who represented Liberty at Media Day last week. Those 3 are returning starters, and they kind of build your offensive line around them, as well as DJ Geth, a guy who was part of that rotation last year. But there's lots of new faces on that group. Who's going to emerge as, to fill out that starting lineup, and who's going to emerge to kind of be the depth pieces there? How do they mesh together? So that's probably the next biggest one, but it's hard not to mention running back. Quentin Cooley's gone, Billy Lucas is gone, as well as a couple others that have transferred out. How does Von Blue step into that position in that room, as well as some younger guys? Caden Williams, another name I think we'll hear a lot of this fall. Redshirted last year, played some in the bowl game, and then also Juju Gray, who's a full-time running back as well. And then defensive line is the last one I'll mention. Defensive line, obviously a lot of transfers from that group in the spring portal window. So some new names that have joined this summer. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on those 3 positions the most, and be sure to have a roster nearby so I know who the new names and new numbers are.
3 for 1. That's better than you get at InsaneRadioDeals.com. Couldn't resist that cheesy plug. John Manson from AseaofRed.com. John, great to chat with you. Great to kick it off for the beginning of the season with you today here in the Fast Lane. And, see you in less than 24 hours. And maybe by then I will have listened back at the podcast platform of choice to the beginning of the season, A Sea of Red podcast.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Ed.
Always our pleasure. John Manson with us in the Fast Lane to wrap it up today on this Tuesday on W227 BG Timberlake, WVGM AM Lynchburg, WMNA, Gretna, Danville, Southside. Now on to VSiN's Make It Rain in progress.
Make it rain with Adam Shine here on VSiN. And my goodness, we have so much to do today.